Up here, y'all good. Y'all can go down there with the creepy people.
125 years ago,
your booty's not gonna be safe.
Coca-Cola was doing the math on its sales. I believe by that point it had already abandoned the cocaine content. It was just cola at that point. But once you name something cocaine cola, how do you ever walk back from that? You know what I mean? It's too good of a name. So they noticed something. People bought Coca-Cola in the summer. A little bit in the fall, a little bit in the spring, not in the winter. People didn't think of it as a winter drink. So the Coca-Cola advertisers were like, well, wouldn't it be great if we could somehow trick people or convince people or talk people or coax or whatever, brainwash people into drinking Coca-Cola in the winter too. So here's what Coca-Cola advertisers came up with. They thought, what if we somehow worked Coca-Cola into Christmas? Now, I know what you're thinking, Christmas is such a big deal. Not back then. Back then, Easter was the big deal. Christmas was important. People would go do Mass to commemorate Christ's birth, but everybody's bored. The real interesting thing is to be killed, executed, and then come back 2 days later. That's fascinating, which is why people had focused on Easter. So what the Coca-Cola advertisers did was, they found a saint who was about to be decanonized, Santa Claus. The Catholic Church was like, he hasn't performed a miracle in a while, let's unemploy him. They grabbed him, they merged him with the story of Saint Nick, and then somebody got inspired. And the inspiration was to merge him with Kris Kringle. Kris Kringle was a Danish thief whose job in the day was a chimney sweep. He could pop his shoulders out and he could fit down a chimney. He would rob your house and then work his way back up, but you'd have a clean chimney. And they merged this together, but they then took St. Nicholas out. He was usually portrayed as a young man and skinny young man in green and brown clothing. They stuck him in Coca-Cola colors, red and white. They even decided to give him some pink in his skin to keep the Coca-Cola colors going. So they made him an old man so he could have white hair. And then they stuck him on the bottom. That's why, periodically, you'll see Santa Claus on a Coca-Cola bottle, or a Coca-Cola can, around Christmas time. Because they made him up. And they transformed Christmas. So instead of Christmas being an important event, but not an especially emotional event, an especially involved event, necessarily. I mean, there were nice traditions around it, stockings and maybe a Christmas tree. They turned it into this thing where all of a sudden this mythical being who drinks a lot of Coca-Cola is bringing you presents. I guess that's how he stays up so late, because think about how many hours it would take to bring presents to everybody. And in the process now, the average Christian in the United States at least thinks Christmas is the important Christian holiday. And it's forced other religions to think about what holiday they could promote during that time period, like Hanukkah. Hanukkah was never especially important. I mean, it's important, but not like, you wouldn't evolve like a whole bunch of time and energy and effort around it. But then, right, if you're Jewish and you're like looking at your kids going, we wish we had a Christmas tree, you need something to compete with this. And the next thing you know, there's a Kwanzaa, because of Coca-Cola advertisers trying to get you to drink more Coca-Cola. They've changed our religion, they've changed our culture, they've changed us economically. So you can imagine what happens when you have a government deliberately thinking about these things.